Hey everyone, welcome to the next session on SAP UI5 Visualization and Chart series with Anubhav. In this session, we will discuss about how to create our Fiori application using the OData service we created in part 1. This is part 2 video of 3 video series. If you have not seen the part 1 of this video, I will put the link in the description of this video. Please feel free to go to part 1 first and then come back to part 2. So let us see what we have done by far. We have created the entity sets and an OData service which returns the necessary data for our charts. We have talked about what should be the ideal way to prepare the data set which needs to be supplied to the UI so that our UI can work faster as compared to doing the looping on the UI side. We talked about our use case and then we prepared an OData service with 4 entity sets producing the data which will be displayed in form of analytics on the UI. So let's talk about basics of analytics. What is the purpose of analytics and what is analytics all about? So analytics are mainly used to provide an insight on the data. It is very difficult for end users to browse through large volume of data. Hence, we aggregate. So aggregate means either you create a sum, you create a max, create a minimum, create an average, you create a count. So basically these are all type aggregation operations. So we aggregate the data to give a holistic overview on top of it. Now to do that, what we typically do, we traverse through these lines of code and we prepared an aggregation on top, which we already did in our last session. In our OData service, you can see system is getting me country specific sales. So rather than getting individual sales records, we are getting here country specific sales. So for which country, what was the sales? This is what we are actually getting it out. Yeah. So now, similarly, what we will do here, we will just go ahead and visualize this data. Now, before we get into system creating an app, I would like to show you this simple visualization example by just creating a chart in the PPT so that you can understand how does the visualization helps. So now if I go to the insert on my PPT, I have an option to add a chart. Click on that. I can now choose variety of charts. So you see, this is how chart looks like. This is a typical column chart. Then you may have a line chart. You may have a pie chart, bar chart, area chart, scattered charts, stack charts, surface charts, see tree map, heat map, radar charts. So there are variety of charts. Now SAP UI5 also provides us a control which can display these variety of charts. The charts gives a right visualization and perspective on the data without really looking at each line item record in SAP system. It's very helpful, especially for the senior management of your company. You can create a boardroom application for your company, which can be projected to the CEO office, where they can get a holistic view of overall company performance and key performance indicators. So whenever we talk about analytics, there are very important factors or terms which we use very often. These are the two terms which are used very often whenever we talk about analytics. The first term which we use is called measures. A measure actually indicates KPI. KPI stands for key performance indicator. Now, if we talk about a finance department, or if we talk about HR department, what are all the key measures of an HR department? Pay stub, benefit, remuneration, policy. These are all the key performance indicator of an HR department. If you talk about SD department, what are all the different measurements? How you measure the performance of SD, sales distribution department? It's revenue, how much revenue they made, what was the cost, what was the profit, what was the operating cost, operating revenue, gross margin. Yeah, all these things are the different factors by which you measure the performance of a SD department. If you talk about a developer, simple developer, how do you measure performance of a developer? Number of defects came and closed, how much lines of code the developer has produced, yeah, how many number of issues he has fixed, how many number of incidents he has addressed over the last couple of weeks, months and quarters. All these are key performance measurements of a developer. Now, in general, if you look at any of the KPI, any of these key performance indicators, you would find that all of them are numeric values. They will always be a numeric values. It can never go as a character. And that's why they are also known as measures. So your measure is always a numeric value. So anytime when you want to build an analytics or a chart application, always if you see a measure, it is actually the KPI. So measures actually is nothing but data points on your chart. Okay, they represent the data point on your chart. Now, on the other hand, these measurements are done corresponding to categories, and these categories are known as dimensions. So category or dimension is the same thing, where you will now measure these different things against certain values. For example, in case of HR, when you're measuring the pay stub, your dimension can be employee, cost center, manager. So I want to know what is the remuneration under this manager wise remuneration, cost center wise remuneration, how much I'm paying per cost center, what is the cost of each cost center. Then when you making maybe SD, the categories could be the sales representative, which sales representative got me highest revenue, which representative in my company is incurring most of my cost in terms of its travel allowances, in terms of its leave allowances, in terms of its all the day-to-day expenses with the customer. So that is one of my dimension, one of my category. Another category could be again the sales organization. I want to know what is the profit per sales organization, what is the margin per sales organization, what is the margin per division. So all these are my categories, could be possibly my categories. You can use a chart, you can build a chart with one category or multiple categories together. Then comes probably for a developer, if you look at these can be the developer job profile, is a senior developer or architect, or the developer employee ID itself. Per developer, I want to know what is the number of defect, which developer has got me the maximum defect. So ultimately, this will give you a very good insight on let's say, for example, developer. It will tell you which developer has closed the maximum number of defects. Yeah, which developer has produced the maximum number of lines, and immediately with the by looking at the analytics, the charts, I would not want to know, or I would get to know which developer is the most efficient in my company, and of course should be rewarded or promoted next year. So this will help us ultimately. All these analytics, what we do, it helps us to take what, to take decisions in the company. So whenever, why we build the whole sole purpose is to take informed decisions. Just take an example, last 20 years of sales data in my company. If I will get to know which product sold the most during Thanksgiving days, I can accordingly plan promotions as well as inventory for that particular product better during the Thanksgiving days. If I get to know during the month of monsoon which types of which type of attire or which type of umbrellas were sold the most, which brand's umbrella sold the most, I will plan or I will make my things or my inventory plan accordingly. Yeah, so these insights or these charts or these analytics which you create on dimensions and with the measures projected on the UI gives you a very good data point to take informed decisions for your business. And this is the whole purpose of a BW system also. Typically, we used to use BW system in the past, and now with S/4HANA penetrating, we no more use the separate BW system because S/4HANA system has embedded analytics, and we also have insights of the data with S4 itself. Yeah. So now, if I just wanted to draw quickly a chart here, just to give you an insight. So you can see in a typical chart, you have categories, which are nothing but your dimension. And then you have series, which is representing your data for each category. These are data points. These are your measures. Yeah. So category typically represents an axis, either x-axis or y-axis. So you see series is also here. And now suppose I want to know, maybe I just keep it so simple. So I just delete these two of the series. Yeah. And just keep it with one series. And I want to now write down here the developer name. Let's say Sam, Jacob, Abhishek, and Reena. And I will know here my first series where I will say, hey, how much defect they have closed. So Sam has worked on 10 defects, Jacob on 12, Abhishek on 3, and Sheen on high is 15. And now when you look at this data, it's pretty easy to tell which developer should be rewarded next month because you can clearly see Reena has got highest number of defects fixed by Reena. Yeah? So this is how it helps you to immediately identify out of the data patterns what's going on. So you don't have to scroll through large volume of data. It's pretty straightforward and easy for you to determine the insights on the data and take some informed decisions on top of it. So that's the whole purpose of analytics. So now SAP UI5 offers variety of controls. So let's go to SAP UI5 SDK on the API reference, and now here you can search for charts. There are variety of charts you can use. So maybe I would go to sample and show you the chart types. So I can go to chart and I can come down to vizframe charts. So this is the one we will be using. We'll not be working right now on micro charts or smart charts. We'll be working on simple vizframe charts. Okay. So what is a vizframe? Vizframe is nothing but it's a frame in which the chart will be portrayed. Okay. So just imagine you want to draw a painting. You would start with an empty canvas. So vizframe is like your canvas. Inside that canvas, a chart will be plotted. Now, on what basis the chart will be plotted? The chart will be plotted on the basis of your data set. And that data set essentially includes dimension and measures, right? So let's quickly go in and check maybe one type of chart. So maybe you can quickly go and say, I want to see a bar chart. How does it look like? So if you go inside, it will load a nice, beautiful bar chart for us to actually experience that this is how it is going to look like when you will be working on a bar. Okay, you can see here, this is how a stack bar chart looks like. Yeah. So you see, this is your category, nothing but your dimension. And on top of it, you have these two are your measures. So percentage measures. Yeah. Beautiful. You can just change the settings here, the size. Yeah. And you can change if the value should be displayed, you can just enable if the total should be displayed. You see total Axis should be displayed, the axis here, then it should be 100% width. So all these things you can actually display here. So if I go back, maybe search for a donut chart and probably jump in inside, you would find this is how a typical donut chart looks like. Again, the same dimensions, yeah, all the same categories. However, you can see this is how it looks like. So basically, a vizframe is just a frame where you supply your flattened data set, yeah, which has measures and dimensions, and then you can choose the chart type quickly, and system would adopt that particular chart type pretty straightforward, pretty directly. Yeah, so that's how you can choose variety of charts. So the idea of vizframe is to just draw and keep your data set different from the chart type, and you can change the chart type based on your need any point of time. It will start displaying that kind of chart because the data is separated from the chart. So data is at one place, so-called a flattened data set, and the chart is at another side, which receives this data from the flattened data set. So what will be the steps to basically go ahead and build such an analytics, such a chart? So these are very easy steps. The very first thing is you got to get started with a new UI5 project with your OData service. Now, those who don't have OData service, you guys can also go ahead and use hard-coded data using JSON model. Now, again, what is JSON model? What is hard-coded data? What is OData service? If you are new to these things, I would highly recommend you to go and subscribe my UI5 in Fiori training, where we will understand all these concepts from scratch. And remember, guys, the training is designed in such a way that those who have no clue about what JavaScript is, what HTML is, we will actually cover all that in our course. So you will also find the description of my course in the description of this video. So you can go and check the description of this video where I have the link for my course, and you can directly jump in and go ahead and subscribe to that course. So first thing we will start as part of our step number 1, create a new SAP UI5 project with the OData service. That is going to be our step 1. The second step is going to be we have to prepare the data set. So prepare the data set to be supplied to our OData, to our vizframe. Yeah. So that's the step number 2. Now, there are two techniques which you can use. Either you prepare this data manually, or what you can do is this data is coming from the OData service directly. So just if you're going with option 2 with the OData, then you just have to create a local model, yeah, and set data to that model. And in the view, you got to just make the structure right, because a flattened data set structure indicates which is going to be my measure property and which is going to be my my dimension property. So basically, you got to mark the measures and dimension. Okay, that is something you can do it either with the creation of flattened data set or by creating using the view. So we will be using technique number 2, where we will be creating an XML view, and then in the view we will be doing it. Yeah. Step number 2. Now, third step, what we have to do is we have to then go ahead and set the chart properties. The chart properties are actually going to decide what type of chart it is going to be. So basically, it will have the chart type and other chart properties like color palette, the title of the chart, and all these properties. So we will be setting the title of the chart, the color palette, and then we will be also setting the different things like chart type. All this we will be doing in step number 3. Then moving to the step number 4, what we will be doing is finally also set very important property. This is, we call it as feed items. So we have to set a feed items to our viz control, and that feed item is going to be deciding or telling the viz frame that what exactly is your measure, which is in the data set, and what exactly is your category, and what type of measure it is, and what category of access it is. Yeah, so that's called feed item. Set the feed items, and the feed items are of two types. One will be the feed item type of value access. So value access of type measures with the values, with the value property name. And another one will be the category access, which is nothing but your dimension and the property name. That's what we will be doing. Don't worry about if you're thinking these steps are too complicated to understand. Don't worry. We will go very much very easy, step by step. We will do these things in the system, and then it will be pretty easy for you to actually understand, and you will be loving this output what we will be getting. All right. So let's break here for the second video. And in my next video, part 3, I will start working on the project. We will go ahead and create our chart, our first chart, and then in the subsequent video we will break it down the whole UI into 4 parts, and then we will be breaking or making all the 4 charts as we have started with a case study. So if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe on this channel. Please do hit the like button if you think this work is useful and it is giving you an insight of what is the purpose of things what we do. Please feel free to hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out the next video whenever it is published on my channel. Thank you so much once again. Catch you up. Goodbye.